Hey everyone, and thanks for joining us for another wellness webinar. This week we will be focusing on healthy sleep. As the days start to blend together and leave a lot of us feeling like we're in a quarantine slump, it's important to maintain regularity in our sleeping and waking patterns. If you've had issues with sleep in the past, now might be the perfect opportunity to really work on resetting these. So let's look at some tips. Every living thing needs some degree of sleep, which means sleep is a necessary process for survival. Sleep provides the body an opportunity to grow and recover from the wear and tear of the day. Important restorative activities like tissue repair, muscle growth, and protein synthesis occur almost exclusively during sleep. It's also important in maintaining a healthy immune system by fending off infections, helping with wound healing and inflammation. Sleep is also believed to regulate levels of hormones involved in metabolism, appetite regulation, and the body's response to stress. And sleep is also important in solidifying new pathways in the brain to help us learn. As many people have probably come to realize, sleep is essential in maintaining our psychological state and mood. When we don't get enough sleep, we might experience mood disturbances, ranging from general grumpiness to mood disorders like depression or anxiety. So how much sleep do we need? In general, most adults need around 7.5 to 8.5 hours per 24-hour period, although everyone is different because of genetics and age. Genetics appears to play a role not only in determining how much sleep you need, but also your sleep and waking preferences. This is referred to as your internal biological clock, which determines whether you're a morning person or a night owl. Age also plays a role. Older adults tend to have a harder time sleeping for a single period at night, and so they might have different sleep needs. How are we doing with meeting this 7 to 9 hour recommendation? Well, over 1 in 3 US adults is not meeting the minimum 7 hours, so this is definitely something I'm sure a lot of us could work on. In our day-to-day lives, we often sacrifice sleep for our short-term gain. Things might come up and we might have to stay up to watch an extra episode of a show, or go out with friends, or finish a project, or sometimes it's a reflection of a habit, such as too much screen time or having that extra cup of coffee late in the afternoon. Whatever the cause, sleep loss can be harmful to our physical and mental health, both in the short and long term. For instance, the fatigue and inattentiveness that result from poor sleep can increase the risk of errors and accidents, sometimes with expensive or fatal consequences. Some famous examples of this include the Exxon oil spill, Chernobyl, and the Challenger shuttle, all of which have been at least partially attributed to sleep deprivation. Another concern, especially for any coach operators out there listening, is falling asleep at the wheel. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration estimates that over 100,000 crashes occur due to driver fatigue each year, and the Institute of Medicine has attributed 20% of crashes to drowsy driving. Although sometimes the consequences might not seem so extreme, there are still mental and physical health consequences that can impact our day-to-day lives. As many of us have probably experienced at some point, sleep deprivation can have immediate consequences on our mental health and cognitive functioning. Even just one night of poor sleep can create problems for us. You may feel more sleepy and fatigued during the day. You may experience lack of motivation during day-to-day activities. This can manifest further into difficulties with concentration, memory, logical reasoning. You might feel a heightened sense of stress or anxiety, and you may find yourself becoming more easily irritated. And with these cognitive issues, your productivity and performance can suffer, putting yourself at a much higher risk of either making a mistake or getting in an accident. It's important to note that chronic sleep deprivation can also increase your susceptibility to mood disorders like depression or anxiety. Sleep loss can also negatively impact our physical health, especially over time with chronic sleep deprivation. In the short term, sleep deprivation might negatively impact our blood sugars and blood pressure, which makes sense given its role in hormonal and stress regulation. Over time, there can be a buildup of these metabolic and hormonal disturbances, leading to more long-term problems, like increased risk for obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. It also might impair our immune function, leaving you more susceptible to illness. As we mentioned earlier, about a third of Americans don't get enough sleep. It can be hard to know whether or not you're getting the right amount or quality of sleep for your body. So, how can we figure that out? First, let's look at the question of how much. An important first step is paying attention to your body's cues. Are you tired when you wake up or throughout the day? When do you feel most alert or most fatigued? Being aware of your sensations of drowsiness throughout the day can help you determine whether or not you're getting enough. Sleep diaries can be a really helpful tool for tracking your sleep time and patterns. This can help increase your awareness of your sleep-related habits and identify areas for improvement. I'll share with you an example of this shortly. Another useful strategy is to take a sleep vacation. Find a few consecutive days where you'll have a flexible schedule and can sleep and wake undisturbed without an alarm clock. This will help you reset and see how much sleep your body naturally takes. And try to stay on your sleep vacation until you notice a consistent pattern. For those of us working from home right now, this could be the perfect opportunity to try this and really reset that clock. The amount of sleep is important, but so is the quality. There are a lot of different factors that can disrupt our sleep, which may be in or out of our control. Internal sleep disruptors are things pertaining to our body or behaviors, whereas external or environmental disruptors come from our surroundings. Examples of environmental disruptors include sounds or noises, like a loud neighbor, music, or cars outside. Even if the sound doesn't wake us, it can still disrupt the quality. The room temperature, maybe it's too hot or too cold. Lights, like from electronics, or a crack in the door, or a street light outside. These can keep us up and be disruptive even after we've fallen asleep. We can also be disrupted by our pets or allergies. Examples of internal disruptors include anxiety and stress, which can be a huge driver for restlessness, caffeine and nicotine, which are both stimulants, and alcohol is an interesting one because while some people report that it helps them fall asleep, the quality of sleep you get while intoxicated is greatly diminished. And this can also be the case when eating large meals before bed. And finally, people with aches and pains might find it difficult to sleep as well. Now let's put it all together and walk through how to develop your own action plan for better sleep. First, we must identify whether or not you're getting enough sleep. Remember back to those symptoms of poor sleep for mood, energy levels, and cognitive function. Do you experience any of these on a regular basis? Next, identify the disruptor. Let's take caffeine for an example. Then we'll develop a plan to limit the effect of the disruptor. So for caffeine, that might be limiting afternoon coffee intake. Now we can implement this plan and track our progress. So keep a sleep diary to record the quality and quantity of your sleep and whether or not you're meeting the goals you set. And then finally, we can reassess whether or not the plan works to improve your sleep. And in order to see meaningful results, you might need to give yourself at least 7 days. If you're having difficulty finding an action step to start with, consider these jumping points. Make a comfortable environment. Your bedroom should be quiet, dark, cool, well ventilated. You might try earplugs, white noise machines, eye masks, or blackout shades. As adorable as they are, if you have a loud pet, you may consider closing them out of your room. Minimize distractions in your bedrooms by keeping TVs, phones, electronics, work-related tasks in a separate space. This might be really relevant for those of us working from home right now. Do your best to keep your sleeping space separate. This can help strengthen the mental association between your bedroom and sleep. Finally, make sure your bed is comfortable with a good mattress and pillows. Most mattresses wear down after about 10 years, so keep tabs on when you might need to replace yours. Try a soothing pre-sleep routine. Do an activity that relaxes you for the hour before bed, like taking a bath, reading a book, listening to music. Limit exposure to light and electronics and avoid stressful or overly stimulating activities. Follow a regular sleep and wake schedule, even on the weekends and especially during quarantine. This will help to maintain your internal clock. A healthy lifestyle is also important to healthy sleep. Exercise can help you fall asleep and sleep soundly as long as you don't do it too close to bed. And make sure you're getting enough to eat and drink throughout the day, including a satisfying dinner several hours before bed. This will help you avoid late night snacking. If you do find yourself hungry late at night, try snacking on foods that you digest easily. Also, limit the use of substances that disrupt sleep. Avoid having caffeine 4 to 6 hours before bed and alcohol 3 hours before bed. If you find yourself tired throughout the day, a short 20-minute nap can help recharge your mind and body. However, napping for too long or too late in the day can make you less tired at night, so try to keep naps short and early, before 5 p.m. Finally, be mindful of what you're feeling in your body. Check in regularly in your bedtime to determine when you're truly tired. Avoid watching the clock, which can stress you out, and instead just be guided by your body. If you aren't tired yet, don't force yourself to go to sleep. Instead, try doing a relaxing activity in a separate room until you are truly tired. You don't need to follow everything we talked about to get a restful night of sleep. Especially for those who are chronically sleep deprived, implementing too many changes can be overwhelming. Instead, pay attention to your own habits and focus on those that seem to make the most sense for you. Some people may also have sleep disorders like sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome, or narcolepsy. If you practice good sleep hygiene habits and still experience difficulties, consider contacting a medical provider or a sleep specialist. I wanted to end on some resources. So here's an example of a sleep diary from the National Sleep Foundation, which you can download their template off of their website. Otherwise, if you just Google search sleep diary, there are tons of options out there for you to get some inspiration on what to make on your sleep diary. So try to include when you went to bed and woke up, the ease of falling asleep and waking up, whether your sleep was interrupted, how energized you feel when you wake and throughout the day, any specific sleep deprivation symptoms you experience, or whatever sleep habits you're working on. You can check out the National Sleep Foundation website or the Harvard Sleep Center website listed here for more information about healthy sleep and more tips for you to try. You can also log on to the Wellspring EAP for community transit employees, where you can find a sleep health test, which I highly recommend you take because it'll really help to point out which areas you can improve on. And finally, your Atlas providers can help you with this. So contact us and we can set up a wellness consultation focused on sleep, and we can really help you develop that action plan. Thanks for listening, and I hope you'll find some of these tips helpful.